All right, Adam Trigger here. Tuesday, time for Under the Radar, time for a couple Major League Baseball free picks, and also it's $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk. I had another 4% winner on Monday. I'm now 9-2 in my last 11 MLB plays. I've hit 5 baseball plays in a row. As I'm filming this, the NC Dinos have closed out the KT Wiz to kick off Tuesday with a winner, so we're seeing it well right now, and I will have a 4% MLB play, best bet up for $5 on my page in probably by the time you're seeing this video, because I'm filming this before total bases today. Yesterday in this segment, we did pretty good. Connor Griffin was the play I attached to the free pick section of my Wager Talk page, over 1.5 total bases. He got way up over that, and if you took the advice to ladder that, you would have hit over 3, and then I think he ended up with 4, so you'd have done pretty good in that regard. The Mike Burrows props, I believe they split. He got the outs over, but failed to get the strikeouts. So all in all, a good day on Under the Radar, and we will try to do it again today. I am going to look at one side and one prop for today, and let's start with the prop. Let's head out to the south side of Chicago, where the Chicago White Sox take on the Tampa Bay Rays, but more importantly, it is the Major League debut of left-handed pitcher Noah Schultz for the White Sox. To say the White Sox are excited about this is an understatement, I think, because if you look at the Chicago Sports Network today, the channel that the game will be on for White Sox fans locally in Chicago, there is a whole day of programming starting off with Schultz's most recent AAA start that leads into the game. He is a Chicago-ish native. He's from Oswego, Illinois. So grew up in a suburb of Chicago, and this is their first round pick from 2022. It's a heavily anticipated debut. He had an injury early in his time in the minors, and it looked like he might get up at one point last year. He definitely showed flashes of being able to pitch at the big league level last year, but the White Sox were so far out of it that I just don't think there was any reason to rush that. So he will now make his major league debut here. They let him start the season at AAA. He's been fantastic. I've already cashed multiple bets on him in AAA this year with the Charlotte Knights. 19 strikeouts in 14 innings pitched for Schultz at the AAA level. Guys are hitting 118 against him this year, and he has a 0.43 whip. He has been stellar through 3 starts at AAA. And again, this is not just like this is a big enough sample size where he's dominated AAA. Like last year, he definitely got blown up a couple of times, but it was clearly there. You look at his AAA numbers: 248 strikeouts in 202 1/3 innings pitched in his minor league baseball career. And again, some of that was working through injury. Last year, you had a couple rough starts at AAA, but ultimately sort of got it together, has a full offseason this year, and comes out looking clearly ready to be in the big league. So I'll save any thoughts I have on the side for this game for total bases, mostly because I don't have anything that I really love. So we'll see if it even comes up on the show. But the play I'm going to give out here for this one, which I really do like, is Noah Schultz over 4.5 strikeouts at plus money. This is a guy that, regardless of what you think about the Rays, whether they're going to strike out, whether they're not, they haven't seen him. Maybe some of the guys have had some exposure to him last season at Durham, but still don't have a huge sample size against him. And something I'm noticing about pitching this year. So this year, non-competitive pitches are way up in Major League Baseball. What that means is pitches that just miss, where there's really not much of a chance that the batter's going to swing at the pitch. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is ABS. What I think is happening at the big league level this year is pitchers are willing to miss badly more often by pitching just like trying to live on the corners, knowing that if they clip a corner, they're going to get the strike call because their catcher can just challenge and get the called strike. So basically, what I mean by that is they know they're not going to get cheated out of a strike. So I think more pitchers are willing to make more non-competitive pitches, meaning miss out of the zone, risk walking someone because they know they're going to get some of that back when they just shave a corner and maybe get a call that they wouldn't have normally got last year. The trade-off is not living out over the plate where, the big damage can come. And the reason I think that applies to Schultz and some of these younger guys coming up is they've been dealing with ABS for years now at the minor league level. So, you're talking about a guy, Noah Schultz, that's been pitching to the ABS for over a year. So I feel like some of these guys, especially AAA going to the big leagues, where it's like now you're facing big league hitters. There's more pressure. Maybe there's some pressure to be perfect. You're less willing to challenge Yandy Diaz than you would be someone at the AAA level. Just putting it in the context of tonight's game, I think you're going to see more nibbling. And I think that's going to maybe lead to more walks, but you're also probably going to get a couple more strikeouts. So Noah Schultz coming up in his major league debut, I think he gets to 5 strikeouts, and you get that at plus money. Another thing you get at very little money today is my 4% best bet, which is going to be up on the WagerTalk page for just $5 as part of $5 Tuesday. Like I said, 9-2 run in Major League Baseball, 5 straight winners on the bases overall. Pretty much been red hot on the bases since that first sort of like 7 to 10 day stretch. So we're sort of cooking right now. Rangers get it done in a blowout last night. I feel really good. And we're already off to a winning start today in KBO, NC Dinos, another easy win. So join me for that. 4% play will be up later today on my page for $5. All right, let's talk about another game that I actually may get to the window with. We don't have a widespread line for this yet, but by the time this video gets up, this should be up everywhere. It's actually already up at some of the legals. And it's really just, it's not going to change my handicap here, because the reason a lot of books don't have this up is the Rockies haven't named a starting pitcher yet. But the Rockies starting pitcher is irrelevant here. I don't think there's anyone that the Rockies could throw here in like a bulk role that would change my handicap of this game. So we're going to talk Rockies Astros. I did well in this series last week. The Rockies did extremely well in this series. They swept the Astros at home, and then they turned around and lost 4 straight games to the Padres. But you know what? That was harsh. To not only lose 4 straight, but if, I was sort of preaching the Rockies plus 1.5 being a pretty good bet in that Astros series where it cashed every single time. The Rockies turned around and failed to cover the 1.5 in the series with the Padres, lost all 4 games. But on Thursday, they lost on a walk-off grand slam in the 12th inning. That's a brutal loss if you have plus 1.5. On Friday, they lost on a walk-off 3-run home run in the bottom of the 9th. Almost unfathomable to lose plus 1.5 with the road team on back-to-back days in that fashion. Lost 9-5 on Saturday in a game that they led 4-0. So that's another tough loss on the 1.5 run line. They led the game 4-0 on Saturday, and then and ended up losing and it failed to cover the plus 1.5. Sunday's game, you could tell they just kind of ran out of gas. Couple close losses, an extra innings loss, a blown lead, and they simply did not have it on Sunday. They get yesterday off, and now they get to go up against a Houston team that they pummeled last week. 23 runs in the 3-game sweep. And guess what? Houston's pitching has only gotten worse. Tetsuya Mai heads to the IL. The Astros are in big-time trouble when it comes to starting pitch, or just comes to pitching in general right now, because the bullpen isn't very good either. One of the worst bullpens in the league per my metrics, this Astros bullpen. And now you're talking about a starting rotation that is getting hit by injury even further than it was hit by injury coming into the season. So that's a real problem. And then you talk about we talked about the Astros yesterday. The reality is Mike Burrows hasn't stepped up. He hasn't been that good. Amai now hits gets hurt, and he hadn't been that good. So what the Astros are going to start doing here is they're going to have to start dipping down to the AAA level, where they do actually have some respectable arms. But I just don't know that I agree with the price here for Colton Gordon. This is a guy, he's been good so far this year at AAA. We'll give him that. Like he's had 3 very respectable starts at AAA. However, he's faced 3 of the worst offenses right now at AAA. 3 teams that are just straight up not hitting. Is what Colton Gordon has been up against at the AAA level. So his numbers look really good coming into this start, but he's faced 3 very weak lineups, in my opinion. And, I'll go back to last year. We had a pretty good sample of Gordon at the big league level. 20 starts, 20 appearances, 86 innings, most of them starts, and, a 5.34 ERA with a 1.42 whip. It's fine. I mean, there's been worse. I don't think Gordon's a bad pitcher, but to say he should be this big of a favorite coming into this game when the Astros have no bullpen is I just disagree with that. I'll go back to the beginning of the season. I thought the Astros were absolutely a team that was going to regress this year. I didn't really see it with, outside of Yordan Alvarez, you have an aging Jose Altuve. It's not a great lineup. And the pitching, not only was it bad coming into the season, but now you're starting to get hit with injuries. There's really no bullpen. You're going to have to start kind of bringing these guys up from AAA and hoping they can survive 5 or 6 innings. It's just not good for the Astros right now. And, even if the Astros are to have have better luck this time around against the Rockies on their home field, to ask them to win this game by more than a run is a big ask for what the price is. That's really what it comes down to. It's like, you're going to see the Astros when this populates most places, minus 185, minus 190, minus 180, maybe minus 195. Like that's just insane right now for the Astros to be a 2-1 favorite against anyone. And, prior to the Padres series, the Rockies were 6-6 and playing pretty good ball. So clearly the Rockies like hitting this they had success against basically everyone the Astros threw at them in that series a couple weeks ago. I don't see why the Rockies can't win this game. If they lose, maybe it's a 1-run loss. You're getting the road team with the plus 1.5. It's minus 135, which is a little bit more than I wanted to pay. But you know what? The Astros, once the starting pitcher is announced, if it's just a bulk reliever or if it's an opener, the Astros might take money. And I disagree with that. I would play back against that. I like the Rockies plus 1.5 here, minus 135. And if this moves 10, 15 cents, you may see this on my client card as well. So a couple plays for you to look at today. Make sure to check us out on Total Basis every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. $5 Tuesday. Check out my long-term packages because that's how you're going to get these plays as I release them. Some of my MLB stuff gets released later in the day. I have my reasons for that, but you want to make sure that you're not waiting around for it, that as soon as it goes out, you get it, and you can get that on any of the long-term packages that are up on my page. Again, 9-2 MLB run into today. We're going to win again today. I hope you are on with me, and I will see you guys tomorrow.